Hi, welcome to Angel's Nook. If you like our videos, please like, comment, and especially subscribe so you know when the next one comes out. And if you're commenting, please let us know what you like, what you're interested in, what's helping you, and what you might like to see in the future. Thanks for stopping by. These three end tables have already been redone once. They were solid in a color very similar to this top originally, but in the move down here to Florida, they were damaged by the movers. And I like the shape and style of them, so I added a layer of walnut, the HTP walnut gel stain over the top, and then the bottom portion of it I painted in Coliseum with very, very lightly dry brushing with oil rubbed black just on the beading, but very subtly and no place else on it. I've liked these, I've been happy with them, but I'd really like to have this top a lighter finish. I did this in a hurry to putting our house together while lots of other huge projects were going on in this house. And I'd like to have it have a little bit more of a more relaxed and a more coastal feel to it to match the coastal vibes of our home. So that's what this project is going to be, is changing this. And while these tables probably look very white to you, hopefully you can see with the white, pure white paper against this, that Coliseum definitely has a significant gray undertone to it. It's pretty, and in most lights it looks white, but you can see the gray in person. So that's just something to let you know about Coliseum as well. So we're going to take these out to the garage because I really don't want to deal with staining here with our sweet dog Dakota, because the only fault of that dog is that he throws coat all the time, and I really do not want to find little fluffs of Dakota in my stain finish when I'm done. So we'll see you out in the garage. When I'm working with stain, I wear paint clothes because Murphy is really good about you bumping into something you normally never would, and stain's a lot harder to get out of the fabric. So that's why I'm dressed the way I am today. The top of this, deglossing it, is just the normal, easy stuff. You'll see why I've got the mic in my hand in a minute. This edge, the deglosser will go over this top of it, but just like cabinets, there are places that you can't get into easily. So along this edge up here, I'm going to wrap my knife and go in there. You can use either edge of it. You can see the stuff that's coming off that I couldn't get to. And I'm going to do the same thing into each one of these grooves. It's tedious, but if I don't get the gunk out of there, my stain is not going to adhere well, and paint would not either. I'm doubling this up just because that makes it easier to get in there. And it doesn't, the knife doesn't rub through it. And that little bit of extra work will really pay off in the end with how your finish adheres. So the rest of this is going to be done off camera, and we'll move on to the repairs that need to be done on this, and then starting the staining. This corner has a piece out of it. I did not repair it when I put the walnut on this because at the time we were still unpacking, and it was one of those moments of I need something to look good, so I'm finishing my tables in the midst of 5 million more boxes still needing to be done. But at the time we couldn't get to a lot of the materials that is now out here in our climate controlled shop. So this was never repaired. But now that I'm going to try to put a lighter finish on this, this will really show up. So now I need to fix it. This is a piece of the faux wood blind slats. Those things are amazing. If you're going to throw one out, save the slats. They're amazing for shims. There's all kinds of things you can cut them for as masking pieces. And that's pretty much what's happened here. There's a B cut out of it so that it fits underneath here, and that will act as a support under this so that I can fill with the DAP plastic wood, and it will stay in place while it dries and it won't fall out. Some people like Bondo. I've had good luck with plastic wood over the years, so it's what I tend to go to first. These two little pieces here are cuts off of this, which is carpenter's tape. It's double-sided, and it will let you, well, it may or it may not. There we go. It's a little harder with gloves. Now I've got tape on there that I'm going to put this against here pretty close to where I know where it goes. Push it up in there. And it will stay in place as I put this in. The finish on the faux wood blind feels slick enough that the wood putty would not adhere to it. But let's take the time to make sure it won't by putting a piece of wax paper that's going underneath where I have to fill that in. Shims, great for clearing an edge for caulk. That needs more in there. Need paper towel. probably not showing well on camera, but this is filled well. I'm going to let it dry, and then I will do a light sanding to get any of the extra off, because this is going to want to pull out if I try to wipe it right now. And it should be ready to paint. And I've got a little bit that has to be done on this other corner. Somebody was smart on this coffee table and made it on rollers underneath that you don't see. There's just a little bit here, which is the other piece, one of the places that they landed it somehow or another when they were moving it. It wasn't much, but I've got the wood putty out. So now's the time to fix it. And there aren't any chips or anything else elsewhere. There were scratches on this that I had done some sanding on before that were very visible in the finish. So we'll let that dry and we'll start staining. I had previously used walnut on this, and if I stain over this with another stain the way it is right now, this is going to stand out worse than the damage unfixed would have stood out. So I don't need to get a brush messed up to deal with this. I can just take this paper towel and touch this up in here. It actually gives me more control over it. And it's going to go on heavier just because I'm hiding that spot. I'm blotting it enough that I don't have texture on there. But now that will hide underneath any new finish that I put on there. So this needs to dry for a while. Preferably, it may over that putty dry soon enough that I can deal with it today, or I may have to wait till tomorrow. And I will do a light coat of this over the other corner that had wood putty put into it as well, so that it's ready to go. You can very probably see that on the top of this there are brush strokes. They're pretty smooth and most people would not have noticed them. This was part of the original finish that was on this. When I put the walnut on here, I did not sand this down to bare wood. It was a faux finish on top with multiple directions of faux inlay on the top of it. So when I went to put this on here, I realized this was not a great wood. From where I could see the damage that you saw me repair earlier, I could tell this was not a wood that if I sanded it down was going to be pretty. So I simply went over it with the walnut, and I also knew these grooves sanded out all the way down were going to create a lot of scratch marks, and this was not going to be pretty at all trying to deal with this. So I'm hoping that now when I put the next layer of finish on this and I change this, you'll no longer see brush strokes in this, or any that you do see will look like it is the grain of the wood. I'm not sure yet until I start whether this brush for the toasted oak is going to be my best bet, a chip or a chip brush. I definitely need the 1/2 inch brush, the angled 1/2 inch brush, to get into all of these places. When you have a top like this that comes out and has a decorative edge along the side, you need to do the decorative edge first, because I'm going to run the grain this way on this table, and if I came back and was trying to work on this, I would start making marks up on this edge which would very clearly show this was a painted finish. So you want to get that edge done first, and you don't want to go up on this. You want to, that's why this small brush will be helpful in here, or if you have a lot of control with it, using the brush angled like this to come in here, using it like a cut-in brush. But I can also do the same thing with this and keep control in here. And so doing these first, then coming along and doing this, then this brush would go right across the top easily. So would the chip brush. I just don't know which is going to give me more of a foundation for the look I want until I get into this. So that's why I'm going to start with the decorative pieces first. And you don't want these, the stain has been stirred, all the stains you'll see me use have been stirred off camera. You're not going to see a heavy coat on this. Because I am actually pretty happy to let some of that brown come through at this point. I don't want to put this on like paint. That's not my goal with what I'm doing with this. Pouncing was going to eventually push stain all up in this, but there's going to be very little on this brush. Because I'm hoping that I don't have to paint these first to get the look that I want. I'd rather just deal with putting stain over it. And Jim, if you would give me a paper towel, please, just in case I need to wipe this upper edge. Staying flat on that upper edge, just to get that off. There's a spot here that it did not take. So the first thing I'm going to try is the chip and see what it does. And seeing this, I am definitely going to take the time after I get this one applied to put some tape underneath. I thought I could deal with it without taping it, but it's clearly showing me that is not the case. If I had done this first, then I would have had dark grooves in this that I did not want. The stain brush would have given me a more solid look, and I can show you that on the other side and then wipe it off. Looking for anywhere that I have just left solid brown that I don't want there. Because there's very little stain on my brush right now, I can go into there and pounce some of those areas. Because the grade is going to go this way, I'm not going to be concerned on these long sides if a little bit of the stain gets up on the top, because it will be going in the correct direction. But I'm still not trying to get my brush up there and being careful of it. Now, as opposed to this, I will show you what the stain brush would do. And that's too heavy for what I want. So I'm going to wipe it off. And when you first put it on, that's pretty easy to do. It also is getting down in these grooves, which is creating a heaviness that I don't want. So for this project, I've got it almost like paint there. Don't want that. So for this project, I want to use the chip brush for what I'm trying to do. If I wanted that heavier coat, I could have gone back in with this brush to smooth out those heavier amounts. Pouncing a chip brush gets in all through these bristles evenly. You don't have globs that go on. So that's what allows you to create these striations. And look both directions, because you'll find things that you didn't see depending on where you were working on it. Okay, off camera I'm going to do the rest of the edges, and then I'm going to come back and show you doing the top. Tops of tables are where people can struggle with stain, and especially using a chip brush to get this kind of effect. This is narrow enough that I can lean over here and come straight down. If this were longer and I tried to go from here, my arm would naturally make a curve. I call it windshield wiper. People look at the top of their tables and go, why are the lines curved? Because your arm curved without you realizing it. And I'll show you how to get past that with the long coffee table after we get this one done. The top is kind of figuring out the sweet spot for getting exactly what you need. Don't start at an edge, start in the center, because that allows you to figure out your sweep, turning the brush at the edge to get that. And I need more. So I discovered that what I need is more on my brush and just a light touch coming across it. And I'm coming off the edges going straight out, not coming down like falling off a cliff. Last swipe, a complete run on it to take care of any of the spaces. I could feel my brush was dry. And you can see I'm getting right up, leaned right up over the top of this so I can see what my brush is doing. If I see curves, I need to straighten those out. And I'm just coming up to the edge of my previous line, only blending where I need to thin it out. And if you flip the brush over, as you'll see me do, it's because I'm grabbing the stain from the other side. And I can see that a little bit of that wanted to come off the end here. So I will check this end too, to make sure that any swoops that got off of that which is why I'm really pouncing this. And in fact, take a little bit off on the paper towel, just so I don't have too much on there. It's not trying to apply thin coat. I'm sorry, like a thick coat, solid coat over this. Just saw that line that I couldn't see in my light before. So, let's read. There was no sanding needed for this. It was just deglossed. This topical stain will adhere and stay adhered. This table is too long and too deep to comfortably lean over it and get the far side of it. The other thing that will happen is if I try to just start and go back and forth, most people's arm is going to make a curve. On that edge, they'll see it, their first stripe will be okay, but then as they get out here and they start going back and forth, they will get curves, which you don't want. So if you're dealing with something that's deep, one of the things you can do to help you is put down a piece of tape to line up your first run of the stain with. Notice while I'm working on this what I do if any curves show up anywhere in it, and notice that I am not staying in one place. I'm moving down this so that I have control of keeping this straight like wood grain would be. And it's a relatively, because I'm putting very little stain on here, it's a relatively firm stroke I'm doing with this to get the lines that I want in it. spot there that wasn't wanting to take the stain, so I pounced it. I'll get just a little bit more in that spot. Let all sides of your brush help you. Something was on the tabletop, so I scraped it off my brush onto the side of the plate. So you can see on this end how coming back with your brush gets those the way they need to be. Then, starting in the middle, not the edge, beat up against this. There's a divot on the table there. I missed. I'm using the wood putty. When you're doing pieces like this, you want to allot yourself time to do all of them at the same time, because you kind of get into a groove of how you're brushing, especially how you're doing the edges that are on this. And if you come back and do it at another time, in all likelihood, will not look the same. Doing things like cabinet doors, keep your original close to you so you can see. Camouflage that spot better. Walk the edge. And don't wear anything loose. It's going to drop down onto your tabletop, because it will happen, and then you've got to smear in your stain. soften where that scratch is. Don't forget, back, get these edges. So that you've got those clear lines back in there. Let these all dry. Get a really good dry on them before I come back to do more to them. Hold on. I have thinned this a little bit with mineral spirits, because I want to be able to touch this super lightly and just add some highlights. Brown onto it. And go all the way around. This was dry to the touch, so I was able to go ahead and start working on this step. There's very little in here, because it should not take very much, and I beat the daylights out of this when I cleaned it earlier and before starting with it on here. And again, I'm going to start in the middle. Because I can see the lines on this, I'm not putting tape on here. I don't want to lift it, I don't want to damage it, but I can follow my brush strokes to allow me to add the brown to back up. Spirits is evaporating pretty quickly in this, so I'm going to have to mix more. This is definitely bringing this together. It may not be as easy to see on camera. wasn't sure how far it was going to go. This is pretty close to 1-to-1 mineral spirits and the stain. Yes, this is exactly this thickness I need of it now. So this is much easier. I had it a little bit thicker before. I wasn't sure how it was going to do. So I'm going back into this area, grabbing some of that, and making this a little bit heavier so it's going to match the rest of the tabletop. And because there's mineral spirits in this, it's letting this blend a little bit with the first coat of finish, because it's reactivating that first coat of stain slightly, which is giving me the look I wanted. And when you saw me at the ends down there, it was where that had gone over the edge. And just like with the first coat, I needed to smooth that back out. I'm moving around to this side, both so I can see the light on this side. And because I'm going to start from the middle, and come to the edge. There's very, very little on my brush because I still want to keep the striations of grain in this. Turning the brush because the stain will get pushed through depending on which way you're going, and you may have plenty left on the other side of the brush. And again, this is tobacco over the toasted oak. sometimes running this way with the brush gives you a better smoothing than going this way. I'm watching the edge. I haven't needed to go back in because I've been applying this a little more carefully on those edges. Okay, this is what's going to be done to the other two tabletops. So from the brown, dark brown that this was, the dark walnut, it's now a much lighter tone, and I'm very pleased with how it looks with the rest of our room now. It's a softer look than the brown was. The brown was pretty too, but I think this fits our home better. One of the things when you have used stain on the tops, you need to let it sit for 7 days before you put things permanently on it, especially something that has any weight or anything that has any roughness on the bottom that could scratch. But this doesn't need top coat. It's fine as it is. The only reason you would put top coat on this is if you wanted a different sheen, or if you had done it over raw wood. The stain goes very, very matte. It has no sheen at all over raw wood. So this is done now, and it was a pretty simple fix for what I wanted and what I needed for our home. Thanks for watching. Thanks for dropping by, and please take a couple of seconds and subscribe.